Today, I decided to platinum one of the shortest, but honestly most enjoyable games I've done in a while, which is of course RoboCop Rogue City. The game has 28 trophies including the platinum, so let's just get right into it. The main story starts with this news report getting taken over by this drug dealer with the most disgraceful and atrocious yee-ass haircut the human brain could possibly comprehend. If I were to arrest this man for one thing, it wouldn't be for drug dealing or murder, it would be for having the confidence to ask your barber for this cut, look in the mirror, like it, and actually rock this shit outside of your own home. But anyways, the police force is ordered to wait outside the building these crimes are taking place in until the SWAT team arrives. But once these guys started killing hostages, RoboCop hit us with one of the coldest lines probably ever, and we enter the building where we encounter our first enemies. Right off the bat, I decided to go for a trophy that requires you to shoot an enemy in a special place, which I very easily got because I'm so used to busting nuts. As I was having a blast just mowing through enemies and figuring out the whole combat system, I got another trophy for killing an enemy with a throwable object, which is probably one of my favorite features of this game, to be honest. But yeah, we continued to advance through this building and eventually rescued these hostages in some sick-ass slow-motion fashion and carried on without our partner Lewis, where we eventually took a hefty fall where the RoboCop story arc kind of begins. Basically, this game's story is all about how Detroit is falling apart due to the Street Vulture gang, and RoboCop's human side is kind of coming back and toying with his code, or however you want to put it. An example of this is when we go to rescue the final hostages at the top of the building, and RoboCop hesitates to shoot this guy despite him threatening the hostage's life. Thankfully, our partner Lewis took the shot though, and that was the introduction to RoboCop Rogue City. RoboCop then had to go get an evaluation, which is basically just a fancy word for a therapy session, which this game makes you do like 100 times over throughout the story. But yeah, I then went down to the shooting range to try what people claim to be the hardest trophy in the game, which is scoring 250 points. Me being the absolute goat I am, got this my very first try, along with the following easier shooting trophies right after. We then get to leave the precinct and enter the open world of sweet, sweet Detroit for the first time. The first thing we did here was go to the arcade where we had to question this fat guy about a dude named Soot, who is the guy I was making a mighty guffaw over at the start of this video. Of course, Fatty doesn't want to cooperate, so I had to find reasonable suspicion in order to investigate the private area of the arcade he decided to fuck off into. So we eventually end up finding this kid absolutely blasted on Nuke, which is basically like the most popular drug in this game. But anyways, he informs us that every arcade employee sells Nuke to kids and even has a huge stash in the basement. So with our newly acquired warrant, we busted the door down and made absolute patty cake of these bozos in the basement, including the fat guy, of course. Soot was not there though, of course, so I left the arcade in order to keep looking for him, where I ended up getting a trophy for issuing a ticket on some poor soul's car. We then saved some homeless guy named Pickle who totally snitched on Soot and told me exactly where he was. But before I could do that, I had to go back to the arcade for a trophy I actually missed, which was for finding this secret button. This then opened the door to a hidden loot room where I found an OCP disc for another trophy. OCP discs basically just give you a skill point if you're wondering. But yeah, we then went to the location Pickle told us Soot would be in, and he was indeed there hosting an underground concert of some sort. RoboCop's presence of course scared the entire audience away because everyone here is high on Nuke. I know this because no one would listen to this god-awful song without being under the influence. This is also where I actually died for the first time, which is pretty tragic, but no problem because I cleared everybody out pretty easily the second time once I actually knew what to expect. After clearing out all the goons, we confronted Soot, who wasn't being very helpful, so I gave him a little persuasion. The objective here was to basically get some information about this criminal dude codenamed New Guy, who actually conveniently hopped on our partner Lewis's comms as soon as Soot was about to tell me about him. So we grabbed Soot and walked on outside where we met New Guy. Bro didn't hesitate to absolutely fucking fuck up Soot and proceeded to hack RoboCop somehow. After a long lecture about how RoboCop should detach from his human side, he shot Lewis and I got a trophy as soon as that cutscene finished. We then got introduced to the upgrade board for RoboCop's pistol, where we got a trophy for applying any upgrade. Shortly after that, the dickhead of this game named Becker revoked our permission to pursue any cases and gave Mr. Zest City the job of keeping us away from said cases. I don't really know what bro expected this guy to do because we very easily just left the precinct and went to the steel mill in order to find a missing officer named Briggs. This mission was both very fun but very cancer because we got introduced to these biker guys who are very fast and annoying, but they are needed for a trophy soon, so whatevs. For now though, we first had to intimidate the biker dude into telling me where Briggs is, which eventually led us to this warehouse where we saw a tape of Briggs getting tortured. After fighting our way through the quarry, we eventually found this freezer room with Officer Briggs' body and numerous others in it. This gave Officer Zestfest a change in heart and finally decided to get us some backup, which consisted of some officers and this massive fuck-off robot that actually ends up malfunctioning similar to RoboCop right after we arrest the biker that was torturing Briggs earlier. We of course easily take him down and got a trophy for finally completing that mission. After heading back to the precinct, we get news of a bank robbery, so we of course go there right away. The bank also has a bomb in here according to this SWAT guy, so we head straight to the vault to defuse it. In the vault, however, there was more than just a bomb, there's a bank manager attached to it. I, of course, had to be the one to defuse it, but let me tell you, this was absolutely AIDS. I failed numerous times, which is kind of a big deal because the game makes you kill all the enemies and analyze the wires all over again every single time you fail, which adds like 10 minutes to this entire process. And that is no exaggeration. But thankfully, I eventually defused it and we opened the vault for the slimy Snape-looking dude, where there wasn't any cash to be seen. Fortunately though, this revealed a secret entrance that ultimately led us outside where we encountered some biker enemies. I used this opportunity to acquire a trophy for blowing up a bike, and we eventually found this Vulture Gang hideout that contained a bunch of enemies and their secret plans. I then popped a trophy because that mission is over. Before proceeding with the main story, I did a bunch of side quest crap in order to hopefully get A rank at the end of a mission where I actually accumulated enough skill points to fully develop a skill, giving me a trophy. We then met with this old dude who's apparently the former CEO of OCP, which is the company that made RoboCop and other robots within this game. He's not really important now, but he plays a major role later. Anyways, we're now playing this mission called Ghost from the Past, which very much reminds me of that one Black Ops Cold War mission with the red door or whatever. If you know what I'm talking about, I love you. But yeah, this mission is basically just a series of hallucinations of RoboCop's past, and at one point we even get to see what I believe to be RoboCop's old house, where I immediately got distracted by this dysfunctional ass staircase. But we eventually snap out of it and finally capture Wendell, who was the one causing all the RoboCop malfunctions in the first place, and also got a trophy pop for finishing the mission. I also managed to get A grade on that mission, which basically means I did all the boring side stuff within a mission and got a trophy for doing so. The next mission had me meet up with Becker, who, surprise surprise, doesn't like us very much and decides to try and kill us with his knockoff RoboCop creations. These robots are kind of poopy to fight because they tank quite a lot of hits, and you of course can't watch them explode into red mist like you can with people. When I eventually cleared the encounter, I got a trophy for killing all the enemies in under 10 minutes, which was completely by accident, believe it or not. Oh, and also Becker's plan is to basically replace all normal cops with those shit-ass robots we just wiped the floor with, in case you were wondering. The next mission had us trying to get information out of Wendell about some kind of mole in the police department, which ended up in chaos as the entire prison started to riot. This is where we get introduced to my least favorite enemies of the game, which are the armored ones. These guys tank like 3 mags no matter where you shoot them, and are all in all absolutely jack septic tank to kill. I even died multiple times here because of the fact that I had no heals, and the armored enemies are just stupid OP for no reason. But yeah, at the end of the mission, Wendell escaped via helicopter, and we of course popped a story trophy. We then got depressed thanks to Wendell's escape, so I had to go to that therapist lady from earlier, which quickly went downhill as the apartment we were currently in was getting attacked and even got caught ablaze. This is where you're actually able to open this door and save a kitty cat for a trophy. After saving the therapist and whatnot, we head back down to the sewers to kill more of those mercenary guys, where we end up running into our very first turret. Knowing this was a trophy, I immediately ran up to the computer and tanked like 20 shots from the turret as I was hacking it, which gave me a beautiful trophy. And shortly after this, I accidentally popped another trophy for blowing up 3 enemies at once with an explosive. After all that, we go to OCP headquarters and find out the old man from earlier is dead and Becker is the new CEO of the company. The first thing the slimeball did was of course fire the entire police force because he's wanted to replace them with robots from the very start, and we got yet another story mission trophy completed. Us being the obedient RoboCop we had to attend to Becker's huge robot police force announcement thing, which quickly went to shit as all of Becker's robots in the building turned evil, probably once again due to Wendell's hacking. But we basically had to fight through numerous hordes of robots that eventually ended with another one of these big robo dudes from earlier as a boss fight. I dealt with it pretty easily, and at this point we're now super close to finishing the story, which is why you should probably comment #RoboSphincter and like and subscribe if you've made it this far. But yeah, basically we just had to do numerous tasks around the city, most of them involving the killing of street vultures. We also had to kill yet another one of those big robots, but thankfully it was pretty easy thanks to this grenade launcher I had. The fight carried on until daylight, where we actually ended up on a construction site shootout with these annoying armored enemies somehow. After like 30 minutes of constant action, we eventually reach the top of the building where we once again encounter Wendell. Except this time RoboCop finally decides to end bro's life in this dramatic ass cutscene, and we pop the trophy. Now that surprisingly wasn't the last story mission trophy though, because we had to kill this old man from earlier in the game in his robotic boss fight form. This boss was fairly tanky, but all in all wasn't that bad to kill because all you had to do was abuse the shit out of his weak spot on his right nipple. Eventually I finished him off with a grenade launcher, and we got to choose what to do with him after the fight was over. I made the only valid choice of killing him because literally why wouldn't you, and I finally popped the last story trophy. Alright, I now just had to do the trophies I missed through the convenience of save loading. First I had to help these officers solve a murder case of some hooker, which wasn't too hard considering there was literal footage of this guy murdering her, so we arrested him and got a trophy. And finally, the last trophy of the game just had me go back to that steel mill mission where all I had to do was find the secret chest, which gave me the Good Eyes Murphy trophy and the platinum directly after. Overall, RoboCop was a very fun game to platinum. The story kind of confused me at times, but that's honestly my own fault because I've never actually watched the RoboCop movies. Anyways, like and subscribe, and also follow the Twitch because I'm doing some banger games in the near future. Bye bye.